landscape energy has been pretty interesting, huh? Last year, this time, we were in Chicago and we got to experience astronosis. That was pretty fun. I enjoyed that. Definitely feels like stronger energies this year, though. But back to the topic on Saturday of the chiasms. I looked into it a little bit, and it looks like we have an optic chiasm in our head that deals with our sight. It's part of the visual pathway. And
Oh, cool.
there are three types, which is neat because that gives us a trinity. There's normal, prefixed, and postfixed. I guess it's all just dependent on how it lays within your head. And it's right near our pituitary gland. So it's a sensory nerve. And where it meets the optic nerve from the other eye, it only sort of crosses over the parts that are closest to your nose. So I thought that's neat that brings this sense of smell into things. And at the X or the crossing over inside of your brain, um, the nerve, okay, so it only carries the part that's closest to the nose. And so then it receives a new name, which I think is also pretty interesting. It becomes the optic tract, and then it's passed on to the visual cortex. So I think that was really neat that I was able to find um, a chiastic sort of part of our body.
Mm.
And I just really enjoy what the group has been doing lately too. And I just wanted to leave you guys with a little quote from Jung. It says, "We meet ourselves time and again in a thousand disguises on the path of life." So
Nice.
that's really all. Just wanted to share that.
Are you joining us this Saturday, Lauren? Have you considered that maybe for Saturday radio?
I wouldn't mind joining. I don't know if I'm ready to
Okay,
be like the person who carries the topic entirely, but
gotcha.
yeah, I wouldn't mind joining.
All right, great. Well, yeah, if you feel up for it, I think that'd be fantastic. The optic chiasmus is one of the most complex parts of the eyes, and it really does make you wonder who designed this thing. Why is it so retarded? Meaning that why is it so weird and backwards? And when you have vision problems, there's not only do you have your macular and your peripheral vision crossing lines, but you have quadrants of your eyes that are also quad crossed inside the chiasmus too. So when you're trying, you can't really ever say to yourself, this eye doesn't work. It's literally impossible because of the way that it's wired. It's sort of like inside of one monitor, you have four different computer monitors, and each of those are wired in four different ways, and that takes place in this chiasmus, which really does, I think, blow a hole in the theory of evolution from a creation standpoint. I didn't say evolution in general, but being that evolution created itself. And I just argue this because I can think of zero benefits as to why any kind of system would purposely throw so many wrenches in its own gears to do this. And I'm even going further to say to even route the optic nerve all the way back to the rear of the brain and then to bring it all back up front again is such a waste of super valuable. Some of the longest neurons in your brain are now specifically grown or eating calories and energy just to move data from one data center all the way to the back and to the front again, which just makes me think of this kind of like a mouse, an interface, a wet interface that you would wear and submerge yourself into a liquid reality and feel as if you were fully immersed in it. And so, a lot of times when I look at the instrumentation of our anatomy, I think a lot about my virtual reality headset. I think a lot about the haptic interfaces that we are developing right now and how inside of a third person shooter, when you're playing a video game as a third person shooter, you see your character right in front of you. And wherever you think that you're aiming with your mouse, it looks like your character is aiming in that same location. So spatially, you're inside of a two-dimensional environment, but you're actually able to move inside of a three-dimensional environment. The optic chiasmus does that. it gives you this depth perception by giving you this surround sound, but in visionary standpoint. And it gives you this depth of field through two towers, by the way, that allow you to notice the difference between each, which gives you your triangulated depth vision, which is technically an illusion that is very sound. The illusion of depth is a very sound way of navigating the world. The same way that you would have an illusion that one window is on top of another window, even though you're living in the same desktop. And that whichever one you highlight would be the one that comes to the front. And that highlighting it in this world would be to moving to the kitchen and opening the refrigerator. That all you're really doing is taking the refrigerator app and bringing it to the front. But you would need a journey and a loading screen to get there. And the optic chiasmus seems to have not only the intricate hardware that gives you depth perception, but more importantly, the latency of signal. The latency of signal gives you enough time to formulate a psychology around what you see before you actually see it. This threshold of 500 milliseconds that we speak about. This is all because of all the wasted, quote, quote, wasted real estate, the wasted extra freeways that we have inside of our brain. And that wasted pathway could be a way of hiding a seam inside this reality that allows you to render a bubble, a placebic bubble, through a formulaic flow of information that has enough of a delay on it where you can crank some numbers and some triangles and figure out what you want out of this reality. So, in my mind, the chiasmus was one of the first parts of human anatomy that made me start thinking of, holy fuck, what is this? Where are we? Because ultimately, you really are staring down the barrel of sodium and potassium and nothing else. Nothing else is there. But we have such an intricate memory, Thothian, that we're able to paint the picture of depth perception through memorizing the sodium and the potassium through multi trillion fiber optic cables. And it's almost like an intuitive, like you can't look, you have to intuitively feel which thing is dropping next, and you're building your reality from that. It's a fascinating kind of joystick we have.
Yes, it is. I love it. Absolutely love it. Um, do you have more on that, James, like for future streams, or you probably already have one, right?
No, there's a really old stream called Eye of Ra, but it's like episode 68 or something. Like it is so old, and I've written a lot of that stuff over and over again. There's also the philosophy of reality, which is a talk that I don't know if everyone's seen, but that's on I Am Byte. It actually was the last Lionsgate um,
Oh.
talk that I gave was about what reality is, and it touches a little bit on this stuff. The brain's anatomy does seem like we're reverse engineering an interface, and it's the first time we've been thinking about reality from an interfacial perspective. And so I am excited about that. But also, the complexity of the brain is only proving, I think it's proving my, so like, because the third person shooter, the
Hmm.
person in front of you, that's your largest character because of depth perception. Your character on the screen is always going to be closest to you. It's going to be the largest character in the screen all the time, no matter what.
Hmm.
That character needs a lot of complexity, a lot more graphic resolution, a lot more specular highlighting, ambient occlusion, subsurface scattering of light. All of your graphics are going into this fake shooter that isn't even in the game. The shooter on the screen, because of depth queuing, the shooter isn't even in the game. He's on a separate layer that happens above the reality layer because reality would come on top of this object and it would break the illusion. So I'm just saying that I know a lot of us aren't game programmers, but the
Yeah.
third person shooter is fucking fascinating because it's, in my mind, it's just outlining this is how it would work. That you would need a super complex anatomy that has so many intricate dangling bits that it's impossible to doubt that it's in this world. And that we are able to make the assumption by the complexity of the avatar that's right in front of us. So I think it's more profound than we think. The inside of us versus the outside of us are very different places. It looks the same,
Yeah.
but it only looks the same because the textures are so seamless that the seam lines are hidden in spaces that we'll never notice. Oh, wait, the seam doesn't match up. It must be sewed together from some other place. The immersion is too accurate. So we can never consider things like that, basically.
James, I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Deb.
Hi. Have you ever thought about how this is a simulation, but we can also interact with nature spirits? How can those both be real? And I know they're both real, but how does it work?
Well, I don't like to sound like I'm being picky, but I have a problem with the word simulation because
Okay.
it seems like hallucination is more accurate. And I say that because a simulation implies that there is a picture that is objectively there and that we are simulating what that is. So to me, simulate would be to copy something that you have the original of. And I don't think we have the original of it. So I do believe in simulation theory, but I really think it's cellular hallucination. That the cells are hallucinating what they think reality is, and that every cell is listening to all the other cells, to their mythology, to their stories. And at any point in time, your toe cells can change their cosmology and suddenly believe in a different cosmos, and that that's purely up to them, and that that's a utilitarian decision. It's not a truth decision. It's not a righteousness decision. It's purely what happens when I wiggle my nose. I seem to flap forward, which means if I want to go that way, I have to wiggle my nose. It's not really a truth. It's more of, hey, I notice when I do this, this other thing happens. And that's causality, which this needs to be a stream. Causality is probably the biggest drug that we have. That us insisting that we live in a causal world, this was really tripping me out the other night. Us insisting that we live in a causal world would literally be the only string, the only rope that we could desperately grab onto and exercise any kind of control over our memory and the physical space. So causality becomes almost like a heroin that we become addicted to, and it would become impossible to doubt it. And so I think at the heart of what the optic chiasmus is doing is convincing us so much in causality that it creates the impossible direction of doubting that as a form of life, because we would lose all instrumentation, all of our compasses would stop working, all of our ability to dim our lights or brighten them, our eyes when we're in face the sunlight would end because causality is no longer a cosmology that we have. So in relation to simulation versus, I'm not even trying, I'm sorry if I sound even argumentative about that. I need to be more.
You don't. I don't know anything about this stuff. So my question is naive as, the simulation thing.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into that.
Okay, good, because I don't think it's wrong, and I want people to talk about simulation theory. I do. I just hope that people just see my point on that and just consider it, that, well, how can we have a simulation theory? Because it really is this is what I mean by the addiction to causality makes us call it simulation theory versus hallucination. It's not even theory. See, I don't think you could call it a theory. I think you'd have to call it cellular hallucination and stop using the word theory. And we can't live that way. We're gonna believe in causality. We're gonna milk this puppy because it gets us places. So
Hi, Cindy. It's good to see you. You got the floor now.
Hey Nancy, hey everyone. Speaking of causality, I've been kind of picking at retrocausality. Is that the same concept? that our future selves are basically influencing the past, and it's all happening at once.
Mm.
Would that be the same as causality, or are we looking at it more from a present moment stance?
Such a great, such a great topic. Like, I hope I don't sound like authoritarian, like but in my mind, I've always viewed it as, yes, we do have to create our past, and your past changes based on the number of calories you have. So your ability to remember the past is really based on your appetite for what you're willing to digest about the past that you have. Same way with the future. So if you think about Michael Levin talks about light cones, and it's a really really cool way of considering every species has a certain real estate to a light cone. And that light cone would be every single possibility because you live inside a causal cosmology, then your theology is determining that every possibility that you have is only going to be inside of this light cone in certain ways. Just like there's a sound barrier that you cannot hear someone breaking the sound barrier if you're outside the sound cone, so too could you never touch a reality that is outside of this light cone, which requires causality. So your past is the pointy end of your light cone out your butt, and your future is the pointy end of your light cone out your front. And some creatures have a longer future cone. Actually, let me rephrase this. Most creatures have a longer past cone than a future cone because of their cognitive limitations. So it's an exercise in creativity to expand your light cone. And the wider you're able to hold a light cone, because keep in mind, I don't think this is a matter of like willpower, where if you can just hold a will for 1 second, it opens up. You're having to stir open the portal into a reality that you've never been in before, and you got to fucking hold that shit. You got to hold it as you go into that tunnel and start to move through a causality that everyone else considers impossible. And because everyone else considers that impossible, everyone else is rooting against you without them knowing it. You're violating their reality. So change becomes a formative way of mining for gold. You're looking for landscapes that never existed before because they become possible inside of your light cone.
Oh, I would add on that isn't it many times as well that it's kind of like you can only understand what we would consider causality of the past when reflectively looked upon it,
Mhm.
and that our relationship with the future, it tends to be like you say, how strongly we can just basically hold a belief or an intention or a direction or something that we want to imagine, and that a lot of times the people that see that, and what happens is that they get maybe just a little jealous in the moment because they didn't know that that might be possible for anybody. And I don't think we know it's possible for us until we actively start trying to plug into that through ourselves.
Yeah. And not only that, we would subconsciously be pushing charlatans to the forefront in our culture every day because the charlatans would be the only ones that have the skill to create a light cone space that didn't exist before. They'd be poking horns into the light cone, into the sides of the light cone that did not exist before, which is why we worship people like Musk. Guys, I don't hate Musk because I believe that the world should be true and he's violating the sense of trueness. I used to think that. It's a beautiful thought to have. It's a beautiful church, the sanctity of all that, of look how honest I am compared to him. I hate fucking Musk because I'm jealous of his ability to pierce through the walls of a light cone and everyone else be fine with it. That is fucking power. It scares me. I don't want to admit I'm scared, so I say I hate it. I fucking hate that guy. He's a psychopath. He's an evil psychopath. Doesn't have Asperger's. He's a psychopath. And I'll tell you, I will tear him apart every chance I get because I'm jealous of that power. And if I can relax, if I can accept the world of belief, and I think you guys have watched me do that over the years, I've slowly learned that I don't hate these people. I'm
My
looking,
son has Asperger's and he's crazy, by the way.
yeah, I probably have it too. And um, it's another one of those points where I see someone that I feel that I hate, and it's because I lack the resolution to understand my own feelings, right? And if you can sit in that hate long enough and you can parse it, and the only way I parse it is to notice how much electricity I lose, then I start to compassionate because I'm not compassionating him, I'm compassionating the electricity that I lose. And then I can look at why would this bother me? I'm surrounded by liars. Like I was married to someone so much worse. Why am I not obsessing over that person? Like, why am I not? And it seriously makes me wonder. I'm like, why don't you ever obsess about that? I don't obsess about it because there's no power there for me. I don't
Yeah.
have lessons. My ex-wife doesn't hold anything that belongs to me. I haven't associated anything there with it. And more importantly, none of the power that I've seen her flux makes me envious or makes me go, I wish I could do that. So I don't think about her at all, do I? Like, I mean, I realize I'm talking about it now, but I hope you see what I mean. That as I'm processing my anger at Musk, it made me think about my ex because I'm just like, what? This is weird. And I can't even say I had this specifically about Musk. It's just that I've had this feeling so many times in my past that I've learned to treat it like kryptonite, and the kryptonite is here to educate the Ubermensch, right? It's the kryptonite's going to show you more than anything else. Like that's you would think if anything, Superman would be spending every day studying kryptonite. Fucking never talks about it. Like it's talk about denial, and this guy's fucking Superman. And we're way off topic here, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, I guess before we jump off that, I would say that's one thing I realized about mine with my ex is because the way that split happened was through her and her husband now going into the church and me being exercised. So all this we've been talking about, for example, for me, I was putting some of my relationship with my ex has had a lot to do with my perception of the church as well. That's something I'm digging through. But I won't hold us up here. We can continue on. Go ahead.
Well, I'll just say real quick, like someone in chat said, I don't think I'd want his power, Musk's power. And I think you're right. I don't think I'd want I wouldn't want to be him and see what he's done with his power. And honestly, I'm probably afraid of how I would probably maybe behave the same way. Are you going to say that I am the Pontus Maximus and that I get to live and just watch 30 Vestal virgins wander around and that's not going to go to my head, that's not going to tickle me in some way and change me in some way? Because this is part of the vitriol, I think, of see Musk becomes his own Musk becomes a pharmacos because I get to justify why I don't want to carve through the sidewalls of my light cone because I don't want to be like him. And this is a pharmacos. This is a thing that I'm doing. I'm creating all of this, right? Which really explains maybe the reason why Musk is popular has nothing to do with all the bullshit. It more has to do with the psychochemical alchemy that all of us get to practice by having another charlatan in our field that's literally leeching off our tax dollars and making promises that a lot of us aren't going to see. That isn't this like kind of perfect medicine? Like isn't wouldn't this be the only way that we could look at true raw power? And only through our maybe our anger or our frustration at it would be the first grade. You're learning now. What brought you to school? I'm fucking pissed at that guy. And so it got you in the chair. That's big, right? I mean, that's valuable. That's alchemy. Alchemy would look this way. Sensei is not hanging out Fritos, right? You know, he's tripping you up. He's towing your car. You're like, why'd you fucking tow my car? And he's like, because cars get towed. That's why. Cars get towed. What are you gonna do about it? You're just like, you fucking asshole. It's like, yeah, I know. Maybe you shouldn't be so attached to a car. It's not fun. It's not good, but that's what Sensei does. Isn't Musk doing that? He's doing that to all of us. So yeah, it's a brutal reality. But if you can find, see, I look for people that I'm mad at. I look for them because I'm like, hey, what do you got for me? What do you got? Like, I dwell on that because I really do find it fascinating. Plus, I want to be off the hook. I want to be able to laugh at this. I really do. And Musk has really been giving me a lot of good, constructive, psychic work, if this makes sense. So, I keep coming back to that. It's a good punching bag,
There was a time when I couldn't even stand to be in the same room when Trump was, his voice was on the TV.
Yeah.
I couldn't even take it.
It's a
So
great, great analogy. Yeah, like perfect example of exactly what I mean. And Trump, I was the same way, I think, too, probably, Deb. I remember being so pissed and annoyed. And then I remember sort of liking him because I felt that he was exposing how stupid it all was. And I think that was the first shift in me able to compassionate someone I didn't like and start to understand how compassion is such a sonar and it's not a form of acceptance or agreement. It's just a form of seeing. And so to me, that Trump really helped in that way because he allowed me to recognize that the fool doesn't need to know what they're doing and that I can still be super excited about what's happening, even though no one's earned it. See, and that's my causality, isn't it? That's my addiction to causality. So
That's
it's lessons
interesting.
every.
My father, that's interesting. In 2016, because I had got to that point, I guess, with Trump, just how worked up everyone who was against him was getting, and I was kind of seeing it or from the outside, if you will. And my dad misinterpreted my amusement, I guess, with Trump that I was pro-Trump. So
Yep.
he came to me after the election saying, "Our boy won." I'm like, okay.
Yep.
But totally missed what I was reacting to, like you said, with Musk and all that.
And even that, I think, is part of it because I had to watch my parents think the same way about me. Uh, and I've always told them just how flawed I thought the whole system was. But they couldn't even hear that. So the only thing they could hear is, well, you must be pro-Trump because you said the other day that one thing you're glad about is that more and more people are seeing how illegitimate the federal government is. Like I remember saying that. And I remember them hearing, I love Trump. I remember those two things happening in simulcast. I think the same thing happens with Freemasons. That I love Freemasonry is what is heard sometimes, or I love Lucifer is what is heard sometimes, or I love lies is what is heard sometimes. And all these are showing me things that used to bother me a lot that I keep looking at that I'm starting to understand. There's a lot of power here. There's a lot of power here. What is under this? What is going on here? It's work, man. It's all work. And
It's a good conversation. Sorry.
a lot of us, well, I don't want to step on your point either, but a lot of us, I think, define success by I have no problem with anyone. I used to think that. I used to think I'm doing well if I have no problem with anyone. And I would try and oust my problems as if it was I had to disinfect that. And then I noticed I was just ashamed. I was just ashamed of those problems. I really wasn't looking at them in a constructive way. I try and have a more romantic, I try and have a more romantic approach to my problems. And if I have I'm just telling you, if I have my food, clothing, shelter, I am fucking doing really well. I have a lot more, uh, ability to do things like that, like a lot more. I can't tell you how different I feel since Friday. So many people up their Patreon. Everything is different. Like, like my entire everything is different. And this is why I preach about this all the time about, hey, let's save calories, just because ultimately it selfishly is going to help me. You're going to be nicer to everyone in the world. And I happen to be one of those people. So why would I not encourage you to relax a little bit more? Let's save some calories. Let's figure out where we're dumping energy that we could keep. When I notice that I'm dumping energy on Musk, I put it on my plate. Go, I want to look at this. And I filter through it. I practice it. I actually practice the hating it because I want to understand what it is I hate about this. So
Okay.
probably feel sorry for him right now. I think he's probably going through a lot of mental
Mm.
issues because society has allowed him to just run from promise to promise to promise to promise, and he doesn't actually get to do anything. It's the anatomy of a Barbie, the torture that Barbie goes through because no one's really taking her seriously. It's all just token, whatever is promised feels good, so we just believe you. That's a very lonely place to be, you know. That pedestal is a torture too. This helps me with Musk because I'm able to look at it through that light, and then I can just relax. It's not because I want to be nice to him. Seriously, I think the guy should probably be flogged. There's just a lot of fucked up shit is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to defend him, but I'm trying to compassionate him. And this is such a subtle fucking point, right? The difference between those two things. So that's all I got, Nancy. Sorry.
I
Oh,
would
it's
be so much more compassionate to Trump if he would be held accountable for something. I know that.
Well, see, I think that, and I'm with you here because, see, I think that if we were to hold him accountable, I think that would help him. I think Musk, the thing that would help Musk the most is for people to say, hey, I don't know if I believe you anymore. Like, I think that would help him a lot. I think it would hurt at first, but I think ultimately that would help. I think Brad and
I
I got
almost think
into
that's
this last Saturday when we were talking with Pi. I think Brad and I felt that this would help if we can just break this egg. If we and I really feel bad. I don't like the way I had AI analyze that conversation, and it said you should call this episode "Tell Me Where They Hurt You, Pi," and it cut me. I felt so bad. I was like, "Fuck." And I understand the comments that said how cruel they thought I was or how unkind we were being, all that stuff. And I also hold the faith that some of you guys maybe saw what Pi posted in chat after that, that actually this probably was pretty constructive, but anyone who's watching who doesn't have the full investment in there or the faith in there of that light cone is going to find this to be very, very not good energy and would want it to stop. And so we're living in that world. We're living in that causal world. And it's very difficult to practice alchemy because ultimately you're going to pay for exercising an alchemical decision to show someone a deeper form of love through accountability. That's not allowed here. I'm saying you can do it, right? But you have to really have a lot of energy, a lot of entitlement behind you. And typically you need the group to do that. The Vestal Virgins were not always, yeah, you need to burn a Vestal Virgin because everyone's mad. It was a giant political movement where the city itself would decide, is the Vestal Virgin to blame for this? They literally were asking the psychic town to vote, will you feel better if we murder this chick? And the answer is either yes or no. That's what decides. It's nothing else. So all this is just the psychic appetite of me, of the town, of you guys, right? Of even Pi, of how much Pi. See, I've known Pi longer, so I think that he can take more heat. And I actually think he requires more heat than the average person to break, which is why when I see him, I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta put more heat into it. And then I end up feeling like I'm having to pay for it. And the whole time, the only moral thing that tells me whether this is right or not is how I write the past, Yesenia. How did I write the past of what happened? Is what happened good? Is
and
it constructive or is it horrible? And I still struggle over that. Like I still wonder, is this the right?
so true though, putting it together that way, isn't it? I don't know if you remember it, James, but I made the joke first at you about tell me where the space poke touched you, James. And this was several weeks ago, and I did it from the same place, and like I didn't think you would take that, and you didn't in any sort of way or whatever. But that was just like that joke. But isn't it funny? I made the joke once, and then of course I guess that's why it was sitting there when I made the joke again at Pi. Only Pi took it a different way, right? Not in that not in the intended full playfulness that I meant it. And that led to what it led to. And that led to me yesterday evening or whatever, sitting there with the thought, and the thought that was in my head is, where did Christianity touch you, Brad? Do you know what I mean? And how,
Yeah, I remember you
like,
talking
I
about
wouldn't
that.
be,
Yeah. Yeah. And I
it's
think most
crazy.
audience doesn't see this. The audience doesn't see these things. I mean, not that I even care. I'm just saying that when you're distributing alchemy to in your social friend, not just here, this is always the case. That people go home and they learn the lesson privately, and they don't come back the next day and say, "Hey guys, here's the end result of this." That hardly ever happens, right?
But
So
when you can see the story that somebody's telling themselves is about their reality is hurting them, it is really you're loving them to help them let it go, right?
yeah, and only if you've mastered the stalking of the self, only when you've mastered that and only when you are correct. Because you will find, I will find how many times I have manipulated the other people's cosmology because it scares me and I don't know that. And because I don't know that, I am using my ability to debate, to formulate a cutting argument, to hide from myself. And that I've learned to not trust myself in a beautiful way in that in that sense. I try not to overinvest. There's a saying on the above Delphi, they said that one of the many sayings that was apparently was over the Temple of Delphi was something about he who makes promises is doomed or something. It's not exactly right, but at first you're kind of like, that's kind of weird. And it makes a lot of sense because I think what they're saying is don't invest your belief so much that you can't pull it out because you're going to want to do that. And why would they want that over the Oracle of Delphi? Because they're trying to prep people to, I need you to be willing to change. You're going to be coming in listening to a virgin huffing probably ethanol fumes on top of a tripod. She's been here all day. She's a social media equivalent of a TikTok star or a Kardashian. So her personality's pretty fucking whacked, probably. I'm just saying, socially, it's pretty fucking whacked. She's probably not even like a normal person. She's been given divine powers based on how pure and virginal she is. And what she's going to tell you, who the fuck knows? In fact, I think for a while, the Pontiff Maximus at Delphi started saying, we want to be able to predict what the fucking virgin's going to say. And so for a long time, that was maybe not as popular place because people weren't getting that nice, raw virgin. Was abandon your stop war, whoever whatever the hell they said. Some of the things that were said to Alexander, some of the things said to other kings. This is the exact same thing I was talking about today about when little boys in Rome were allowed to walk into the room and call somebody a fat ass jerk or whatever. That it was a little boy given the ability to speak truth the same way it was the virgin on the tripod given the ability to tell the truth. And that instantly you have a machine that creates a culture, and that instantly you find a Pontiff Maximus that wants to control that machine and program it to say certain things. And isn't this what Musk is doing with Grok? He's just bought an oracle that's going to tell everybody how great he is. This is what tells me I'm jealous. I'm jealous because that's amazing. That's fucking amazing that you can do that in the world. And now people are giving you all these resources, and you've told them that you're going to save every single person on the planet by going to Mars. And the thing that gets me mad, not, besides the jealousy, I'm like literally mad because I think about if I was to tell you a story that I want to save my baby and I have to spend the rest of my life fighting for the cure to save my baby. If you were to catch me playing fucking video games or trying to revolutionize traffic or trying to create some other solution to an electric car or to an electric vehicle or to rescue kids in a cave by calling some dude a pedophile or all the other million or invent solar roofs, I know that one of you would be going, I don't think you really want to save your child. This doesn't look like someone who wants to save their child. And the part that I'm still stuck in the graw is this guy's first lie was I have to save humanity by getting us to Mars. And I'm like, why shouldn't this be like saving the most important baby? Like, if it's really that way, why are we all buying this stuff? And I think we're buying it because you're looking at a Nimrod. I mean this in a respectful way. Nimrod kind of means, but you're looking at someone who's able to thump a worm. He's able to put a vibration into the dirt and summon a worm that's so big that I am jealous to the point that I fucking hate it. Terrifies me. It affects my daily life. And it's something that I lack the balls to do. I lack the balls as a magician to fucking tell you guys that and to hold that kind of conviction that I can say it. See, it's easy to think that I'm now like worshiping Musk. In fact, I don't even mind you saying this. I'm telling you, I'm looking at power and I'm like, how the fuck does this work? And isn't it interesting that I don't want it? Isn't it fascinating that I'm literally the guy that's like, I'm not gonna fucking touch that. I don't want to be that. And that tells me more about myself. And it's not like I can't I can't candy coat that, guys. I can't sit there and say it's because I'm morally superior. That just doesn't work anymore. Just doesn't. I just look at it differently is all. Because I look at the utilitarian nature of what someone could do, of how the world could change under that, and it makes me feel like a coward. Isn't this a weird thing to be? Can you guys see how complex this is? I'm not trying to say I'm right. I'm just saying I hope you can see that the journey that I've made through this is complex fucking landscape. And all the ups and downs through there is the purpose. It's not to find this end state of this is how I feel about Musk. It's me exploring all these that I would never be able to explore through any other way. This is the only way, right? So that's why it's good to find these things and really stalk them, you know? That's why I say you have to stalk yourself. You have to stalk yourself. You have to be a fucking stalker. You have to not let yourself catch yourself stalking yourself. And I think when you do that, you really start to understand who you are. You really start to really see yourself in candid moments that you would never notice before. It's an interesting kind of spectrism, right? An interesting kind of alchemy to even be able to do that. Most of us don't try. That's all I got.
Wow. That's a lot to ponder and contemplate. I'll definitely have to listen to all that again, James. Thank you. Annie, hi, you're up. Thanks for raising your hand.
Thank you. There is something about words and how something like an eternal flame to me, like I'm a stickler for words. And also I do a lot of offhanded deadpan jokes myself, and I get in a lot of trouble when people misinterpret that as, because I'm constantly doing it. And a lot of times it may not be clear that, anyway, that's the side thing of that. But the eternal flame, on the other hand, when like I'm a stickler for words and promises, and your word is your honor, and things like eternal flame. There's actually in my city we have an eternal flame, and it's for the veterans, and they keep it lit all the time. And I always wondered. I go down there and I look at it, and I wonder, if, basically must be a pipe in the ground, right, of gas that's going there, and somebody's in charge of the valve, and somebody installed the pipe, and it's this. But on the other hand, there's this eternal flame. Like, what happens if it ever goes out? Do they have a little box where you crack the thing and there's a lighter, break the glass in case of emergency, and there's a lighter, or is there a phone number? Is there a hotline for the eternal flame? But is it eternal? Because, to me, that means it's relying on somebody turning it on and off. And unless it's coming out of the ground, that there's a special place where gas comes out all the time, like geysers that come out, or whatever gases that are coming up, methane that lights up, and it becomes an actual eternal flame, or an eternal fountain, a fountain of youth, a fountain of gas that is always light. And I'm sorry, I think Renee left, but I wanted to tell my quick story about also looking at people like Musk. And I spent a lot of time looking at animals and birds, a lot of time observing. And so you begin to understand their nature and how they are. And this morning I was sitting out with my cat, and I heard this scrabbling on this cliff, and I look over, and it looked like a dog was playing on the edge of the thing it's not a gentle slope. It's an up and down cliff, and it looked like a dog was playing. And when I finally realized what was going on, it was a coyote with a snake, a really big snake, a long one, a coach whip, which is kind of a really long pinkish colored rope looking thing in her mouth. I don't know if it's it wasn't a big one. And it just ran up the cliff and just stood there, and I got some video of it. I wish I'd
been able to get the camera working a little sooner to watch it, but I think it just lost its footing and it was trying to go a certain way. And so I stood there watching and thinking about how, the cat was just looking at it, and the cat, I thought, that would run away because, oh my God, there's a threat. It's the coyote. But the cat's just watching like, wow, check that out. And like I was too, like, wow, that's pretty cool. And he didn't seem to want to run away or see it as a threat. And like, he's a part of the landscape, I guess, or he doesn't act like prey. He doesn't act like he has to run away. Like maybe a small dog would be barking and, frantic. So anyway, going back to the word, and your honor is your word. And that always gets me because I rely on a person and I rely on their word, and you can't, because we're just people and we're just, there's just a pipe going to the flame and some guy's in charge of it.
It's been a while since I've said this because I don't think it's popular, but I think that having to trust someone is just a primitive form of self being in self. Like you live in a world where you need to trust people until you build enough energy where you can have a relationship with someone and you don't actually have to trust them. You can have a deep formulated connection with someone and not actually have to trust them. Never actually have to place your oar inside their canoe. And the way that we learn our cosmology is by trusting that we create a parasitic, remember what I said, it's a good word, but we create a parasitic relationship with a church or an organization or a family or a patriarchy or a logo or a song or a band, fucking Def Leppard. You find power in that. You find faith in that someone gets you. And if someone gets you, it means that there's other people out there that believe in you too. So we formulate these things and we develop trust as kind of a way of leeching onto the nipple so we don't let go. And we're just at a point now where we don't need these things, but we've equated them with love and relationships. We've equated them. And really, they're more equated with the symbiotic yet parasitic relationship that we had with our own cosmology, with our own plasma. And it's just hard for us to get to that point because it feels kind of weird. And I think the moment we get where we can't trust each other, check this out. If we could get to a world where no one trusts each other, all of us could bullshit and create propaganda and no one would be hurt. And this is what a playground would look like. When Susie is the queen of Narnia and Tom is the living Voltron, these figures don't have to compete with each other because neither person has placed their oar entirely inside the boat of the other. So each of us get to utilize our fantasy and no one gets hurt. It's such a tricky way to see reality right now from where we are. But I think ultimately, this very soon, if it hasn't happened already, it's probably already happened. You're just looking at people in denial. That's what this next layer looks like. It's not built on trust, not trust for the other. It's built on personal cosmology, on the personal church, so to speak. So I'm excited about it, and I think that all the lies would kind of look like the unwrapping of this new present, And we haven't even read the manual yet, so we don't even know what we got here, basically.
If I could add just 2 cents onto that, Annie, I would. I know for me, I've had dealt with the word when you say holding your word. I've dealt many times with people trying to trap me in my words, if that makes sense. They'll come back and we play these games of you said this, you said that. And I think as we're kind of moving maybe forward with that, what I'm saying is my energy or my intent, I think it's true. I trust that, but sometimes my words tend to be the place where people try and latch on to move me in a behavior that they expect, if this makes sense, to my words, and not in my opinion necessarily connecting to what I was trying to say maybe deeper. And that like in a simple way, if like with a family member, someone that have a mom, dad, whatever, if my expression is to do something for them because at root it's just because I love them, but that the way I do this thing doesn't necessarily reflect in the exact way that they might want, they would now say that you know what I'm saying, that I wasn't giving my words, if that makes sense. So I definitely get what you're saying though, Annie, but that's partly my experience with dealing with that. And also about the eternal flame thing, I think that's kind of I just see everything symbolically so much now, and that's just a very, like you're talking about, nuts and bolts manifestation of maybe a higher idea, and the eternalness of it, what I would just refer to as, you can call it whatever you want, but wouldn't the eternalness of it be this attention, whatever it is, whatever this pulse is that continues to show up, even whether we experience it from this dynamic, that dynamic? That's all I got.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, James and Annie. I love that your relationships, you're more focused with just the animals. I'm doing that too, and insects. And but I do want to share something. So my husband has had his oldest son's wife, kind of like maybe on a little pedestal. Okay, on a pedestal. And I've just been really honest, but I just took my oar out of that relationship with her. I'm just being honest with Lara, like I usually am. And oh my gosh, so she has a little bit of what his wife had. She was diagnosed bipolar, but Liz really isn't, like, she's not had that diagnosis. She just has some like emotional. So anyway, I stay out of it, and I just kind of hold my stance of, well, we all have our areas, whatever. But just yesterday, we were around them, and he's like, oh my, he goes, I think I'm seeing she has some similar characteristics as his wife, which was Cameron's mother, who she's passed. And it completely, like, but for him just to even like have that awareness, I was just like, wow, that's amazing that you saw that. And I'm gonna like leave that there. But anyway, I'm gonna call on Gabby. I don't know if you shared before, Gabby, but welcome.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I am very, very new to this community. I found James online on YouTube, and I have been binge watching his videos for the last, week or 2 weeks. Really resonates with me, thought-provoking. Sorry I'm not able to turn my camera on. I got the notification today, and I'm not internet ready. I hope that's okay. I wanted to make a question. I don't know how to formulate this or how exactly to present, so I'm just going to throw it out and we can clean it up later. But with regards to the Elon Musk story, or the Elon Musk as an archetype, or as a representation of where we direct or negative attention, if we can call it that, or just something that is inside of us that does not feel good, and we then project it onto this holographic image. I'm trying to use this James word, but what I would have called like a scapegoat. Like we throw what I am feeling inside that doesn't necessarily feel positive. I don't want to hold on to it. When it's love, I want to hold on to it. When it's joy, I want to hold on to it. If it's something that I don't want to hold on, then we can label it jealousy, rage, anger, envy, whatever we call it, we throw it off. But when it comes, as I'm sorry, I really don't know how to frame this, if it's a question or a statement or what it is, but what the thought that came to my mind, it's probably also an enlightenment for me, is whenever I try to hold on to it, it happens automatically. One mode of operating. I recognize that it creates this momentum, and it creates this, I don't know what to call it, but it felt like what James was describing when he was talking about his reaction to Elon Musk, in terms of, this, it's just there, it's strong, and it's there. So when I don't have any personal feelings towards Elon Musk or Trump. That's not my trigger. That's not my kryptonite. That is not my thing. It's something else. I don't think I can even think of it right now, but it's something else. So I can call it also that's my Elon Musk. But for my Elon Musk is the first time I would see my Elon Musk, which is not necessarily Elon Musk, but my Elon Musk. I'm assaulted by something subconsciously. And the next time I see my Elon Musk, I hold myself and my reaction to the last reaction I had. And when I think about it now, it could also be the flip side for a positive reaction. For example, people who love Donald Trump. And again, I have no dog in the fight when it comes down to that story. It's not my trigger. But their first reaction or the first strong imprint that they got from him, the next time they see him, they hold themselves to that reaction, and which is why no matter what he says that's negative, it never changes. And no matter what, but not no matter, but maybe no matter what Elon Musk does that's positive, it cannot penetrate our psyche to kind of break that momentum that we have, because we're holding ourselves to that last and the last and the last and the last reaction that we had of them. And so I'm thinking, question, James, how do we walk through the process of being super, super cool alchemists to be able to say, okay, I'm not able to break from this reality, but I need to break from this momentum of Elon Musk and insert a new template there where I can start to see the reality that is standing in front of me and not just these snapshots of every other time I saw him before. Sorry, I don't know if that came across properly, but I'm just going to drop it there and somebody can pick it up.
It's
But thank you
perfect.
guys for
Yeah,
having me.
this is perfect, Gabby. I think everyone follows you perfectly here. And yeah, I think it's well said. I think limbic posture is a good term to talk about here. And the idea that when you pull up, when you see Musk, you if you picture a sort of a holographic spine where all the ability to feel things it returns, not because you see Musk, but actually because you put a certain limbic posture on and you're accessing a memory point, and that memory point is what was the last thing that happened when I saw this person? And that's because you're recognizing someone. The power of recognizing someone comes with a lot of limbic enhancement God, what's the word? Reinforcement. This is why famous people are famous. Technically, your brain rewards you when you recognize someone because you recognize someone. So you automatically feel a sort of sense of, oh, hey, look, my reality is encapsulated in my ability to remember things. And here's this person. And the only reason why you know that is because you return to the limbic posture of whatever's in the room. If you're in a messy room, you're going to have a limbic posture of that. And you're reinforcing that memory because of how you feel when you first see something. This is why the first impression is always said to be so important, because your first impression sets the pace for what someone's posture is going to be every time they meet you. And so you're not really fighting with your impression if your first impression was good. In fact, you can sort of kind of phone it in sometimes because your first impression was good enough that you don't have to try now. And so a lot of people come out of the gate lying first, making promises first, and they get away with it because they establish enough momentum at the beginning to where they're basically just mind fucking you. Not that they're consciously even aware of it, because ultimately you are mind fucking yourself until you can learn to step away from your limbic posture. And I personally, this may just be just the technique that works for me. I actually look now for people that make me uncomfortable because I see this as a red pheasant in the forest. I see it as an opportunity for me. And only when I can afford it. This is only when I can afford it. See, Musk is not my worst kryptonite. Musk is the kryptonite that I can digest because he's far enough away from me to where he doesn't disrupt my system, right? That's why. If it was something closer, it would be harder for me to even talk about or even consider it as something. So in my mind, the key is to practice noticing limbic posture and, more importantly, not castigating the self for having it. I think jealousy is the perfect word to talk about here, because when you feel jealous, one might feel that you're broken because you have jealousy. But jealousy, really, if you take the feeling that you have, if you take your musk and go make sure your bed's made and it's the middle of the afternoon, and go lay down in your bed for 10 minutes with this idea, and really think about why you're mad at Musk or why you're jealous of Musk, and really enjoy that feeling of how uncomfortable it is. I say enjoy it because you're alone. No one's around. This is the perfect opportunity to really expose yourself to this and to really look at why this bothers you. And ultimately, your goal is to find a way to smile at how weak you are. This is just what I do. I find a way to smile at how weak I am. I treat myself like a child and say, look how weak you are. I mean this in a beautiful way. Like, my language is beautiful when I say this. It's like, look how delicate you are. Look how sensible you are. Elon Musk doesn't even know who you are. Yet here you are. You framed this entire day. Now we're even looking at this. This has got to be about you. It's got to be. And then I start looking at jealousy and I'm like, am I really wrong for feeling jealous? Then you just start to unwrap all the layers of what jealousy means. Jealousy means maybe something similar to I'm green with envy for someone else and what they have. And if you have such a strong feeling of jealousy, I just recognize what they have is me. I'm jealous that they have me. So if I'm jealous of Elon Musk, how does he have me? And I noticed that Elon Musk is someone that practices the technology of belief better than anyone else I've ever seen. And I've written a book about this very art, and I pretend to be an expert, and I walk around, oh, look how torquey my belief is. And then under the shadow of Elon Musk, I'm completely obliterated. I'm so weak. There's no fucking way I could ever match guns with this guy.
But it's magic,
Surrounded by people.
James.
I'm surrounded by people that will side with him, and I know this. This is a perfect opponent on the mat for you to bring to Dojo. You need to make a seat for Musk, in my opinion, if you can afford it, because if you can't, you're just going to deteriorate yourself. You're just going to haunt yourself and just take yourself offline. That's why you really have to have a lot of extra calories. You have to have a budget for things like this. You have to have a budget to waste time on things like this, quote, quote. So you can have this relationship and find yourself inside those things. Then you can start to pull those things back and the plasma comes back to you. And when it comes back to you now, see, Elon Musk is much more dangerous because I see him everywhere. I can't go out in the world and not see his symbol or his element. In my mind, that makes him a more formidable opponent because he has the ability to change my limbic posture when I go to the grocery store. I'm not even on social media. How the fuck does this guy get here? Which is why I pick him as an opponent, because he's so effective. He's so effective on my field. And he's only effective on my field because he has me. I see myself in him. I see my ability to change the world, and I feel that I'm entitled to that. And my entitlement is the tractor beam of alchemy. That you feel entitled to something, and if you practice that entitlement just right, if it has enough authenticity to it, things come to you. So in my mind, the way that things would come to me is to find my jealousy, reclaim the associated energy with that jealousy, and really have a good time acknowledging how weak I am. Because ultimately that weakness is what's teaching me everything. Kryptonite's the only thing that would teach Superman anything that he would need on this planet, and he completely ignores it. He doesn't need to learn anything because the entire world is fucking calling him Superman. That's all I got. Thanks for the question, though. It's really great stuff.
Wow, another good A lot to re-listen to. So I think it was Deb. I was Deb next. Yeah, I'm gonna call on Deb, and then I think it was you, Yesenia.
So I had this idea that what was going on was unnatural. All the people that were believing what Trump was saying, I was feeling like it was unnatural. It must be some kind of sorcery. And I finally figured out that it was me being really pissed off that I would be mortified to do any of that behavior. And that at the same time, it's like my form of jealousy. It's like, oh my God, I'd be mortified. But at the same time, look at all these assholes are believing these fucking lies. And they elected him. And like, yeah, I went through that for a while.
Well, I'll tell you, that's definitely Gabby was right on point with what she was sharing about the image that people to have with something and the relationship as it forms that way. Because I happened to see very, firsthand with my father, and it's the stubbornness with which we want to attach to an image like that, because we don't want the last thing we ever want to admit is, hey, I was wrong about that, or I made a mistake, right? But to watch my dad used to hate Musk, by the way, I think, because Musk used to be on the other side before he was on this side. But to watch how that process works, to where, yes, my dad could say he's against something this month, and then next month Trump says he's for it, and now my dad's for it, and there is a complete disconnect that you can see with that. But what's actually functioning is exactly like Gabby's talking about. I'm not allowed to change, because I've already formulated this opinion. It's done now. It's not up for debate. Now I just have to move myself to wherever the opinion might go. But it is fascinating to watch, for sure.
Good shares, everybody. I find it very entertaining right now. It's just every narrative's out there, and it's quite interesting to just observe it all. And I had things like that with Hillary and Adam Schiff. I don't know. There's something about those two people that just but I'm working on that too, because I actually have found some compassion for Hillary. Because ever since you shared, James, how a lot of these people were raised, it's like, oh my, I mean, they just are dealt really bad
Yeah,
trauma. Right?
I think that you would be able to measure yourself as a titan if you catch yourself finding a way to compassionate these figures like Clinton or Hitler, or seriously, that if you, again, I told you, compassionating doesn't mean you agree. It means you understand why they would do it. You could see that you would do the same if you had their calories and their posture and living in their time and in their situation. That's a very difficult skill if the figure is hated by everyone else. And I think one of the only places you'll find all the gold is in the compassionating of those things. You could argue that contrarian and hermit are the same path, because they end up taking you to the same place, although maybe the conscious intent is different. You still end up in the same spot where you're alone and it's dark and you have to make your own light. And that's a good way to learn magic. So,
Sure is. Thanks. Okay, Yesenia, you're up, hun.
Hey, it's just a lot of great shares, and I agree with Gabby. Like, I focus more on my microcosmic world versus what's happening macroly, which I understand that's something I need to work on. And you mentioned on your stream earlier about being generous with energy. So how does that relate with boundaries, and going into that a little bit deeper, like appreciating witness versus the feeling of being stalked? Like, how do you feel and process being stalked versus being appreciated through witness? And when you talked about jealousy, I felt like writing this down. Like, I'm jealous of others because they can enjoy hallucinations that aren't fun for me. And with the whole trusting, I just wanted to know if I like felt this correctly. Like, trust is a belief, like a belief of this connection is gonna keep me safe. And it's like limbic shoes of comfort that I can wear. And if I trust somebody, I don't really have to do the work, nor do they have to do the work for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a biggie with trust, and I don't think a lot of people are ready to. They don't even want a society that goes there, and I don't blame them. I'm not saying society has to be there, but it really does eliminate all work, and you get to hold someone else accountable. Like you, you literally get to blame the other guy. It's like perfect. Like it's there's no other way around it. You know. As far as stalking yourself, I think that once the self talk becomes more constructive in you, that the stalking of yourself kind of becomes more like fun. It's sort of like you're watching a child in their backyard. You see them climbing on on a tree and you're like, are they going to kill themselves? Do I need to stop what I'm doing and go out there? Or is this a learning moment? And you kind of find yourself doing that, I think. And a lot of times, I think as you give yourself more trust, it becomes much easier to stalk yourself through the peripheral versus consciously really going, what the fuck just happened? Let me process what just happened with this lady in this store I just talked to, or whatever else it is. That as you learn to have an easier dialogue with yourself, I think you just run out of opportunities where you have to even do that because you're just naturally a passenger, naturally watching yourself go through. So if I was extra rude to Goodreads last week. Goodreads is an organization for authors. I've been trying to get them to update the cover of my book for 2 months now. They're great people, but it's a bureaucracy, and you're competing with other people to just try and get someone just to update information. And the whole time, as a technologist, I'm like, fucking Amazon has an API where you can pull the cover down. It's all the things are there. As I'm watching myself be mad at the content moderator, the post moderator, where authors have to go to get this stuff done, I love myself enough to realize, yeah, you're an asshole, James. You're just an asshole here, and I don't even have to explain. I already know why I'm an asshole. This is my fucking art. Like I'm gonna be an asshole. I'm gonna fucking be an asshole here. It's gonna happen. So it's I don't have it. I don't have the moments where I'm like, oh, I'm such a piece of shit. I just don't have those moments anymore because I've already seen so much of what I'm willing to pull, and more importantly, what I'm not willing to pull. And ultimately, the fact that I can't have fun, see, that really hit me what you said. I can't have fun lying like they can. I can't do that. That's a big one for me. I literally see that as a weakness now, Yesenia, and I used to use it as the only symbol that would keep my lights on when everybody else is hating me is that I would go back and remember, yeah, but I don't do that. See, I think I've gotten so much more in my dojo that I'm now taking that thing that I used to use as a sacred fire, right? And I'm now using it as a critique against myself because I just have more calories now. So I keep moving through all the emotions and really pay attention to the red pheasant. You do not have to stop what you're doing and swallow the fact that you're a jealous person. I swear, all you have to do is notice, oh my God, was I just jealous? Oh my God, that's adorable. And you can keep going. Just say that's adorable. Just say that because it is. It's fucking adorable. It is fucking adorable when you catch yourself being jealous. You just don't have the framework, I think, because the limbic volume is so loud that you go back to the last time you were jealous or the last time you heard the word jealous, and it probably was some fuck who hated themselves. And that fuck could have been you that has this negative reaction about jealousy, when in fact, it's literally the red pheasant that's showing you, look over here, look over here, look over here. So that word adorable is such a crucial magic word because it puts yourself in the role of child. It puts yourself in the role of, look how human you are. My God, you're adorable. You are human. Look, oh, you peed yourself. That's it. Oh, you peed your bed. Look at that. This is great. It's the same emotion. You're simply bringing more limbic posture to it. You're bringing more association to it. And so all the judgments aren't as loud, and you get to really enjoy that moment, so to speak. So that's the zen of it. So I think you have to practice it more, not less. But only practice it when you can afford it. It's seriously, it does no good at all to fucking practice this if you can't afford it. Then you're just torturing yourself, and you're probably going to want attention for that. You're probably going to want credit for that. And I'm not going to give it to you. And you're going to fucking hate me for it because I'm not rewarding you under the same things. And you do that to yourself too. You really start to, if you really want to be hard on yourself, catch your victimhood. Fucking insult the shit out of your victimhood. I'm serious. Like, if you really need that, be cruel to your own victimhood. Be cruel to that. Like, picture that right now. I've been doing this since I wrote my book. Right now, there's a dude who's riding on top of a fucking train through the Congo, dodging machine gun fucking fire so he can sell palm oil 8 days away to another village and then come back to his village and maybe have like 2 weeks worth of food. Like that, when I catch myself where I'm at and I picture what these guys are doing, where the dude just lost his leg because he was trying to walk through the cars because he has to stand the entire time and he fucking fell asleep and now he doesn't have a fucking foot anymore. And I hate to be this guy who's like, think about everyone else, but that really is a powerful form of magic if you think about it. Like, it really is a powerful form of magic. And when I picture that guy, he's having fun. He's not there like poor me. He's on top of the fucking roof looking at the fucking vault of heaven over Africa, and he's never felt more alive in his life. And I'm jealous of that. You want to be jealous of that. You want to be jealous of the resilience that that guy has because that's you. And the only way you'll find an energy is by you have to throw your tentacles at it, your jealousy tentacles, grab hold of it like Spider-Man. And once you own the jealousy, you are pulling that to you. You're pulling it back. So this is really the most creative act you could possibly have, is to become jealous of a king, to become jealous of someone that has more power than you. This is the first tentacles of entitlement. And you'll be ashamed of it. And that's the cost of did you earn this or not? Are you willing to say, yeah, I'm ashamed of it and I want it anyway? And now you're not ashamed of it anymore. You've now won that too. So many victories just waiting for us, but they're all through the veil of jealousy, of dark emotions, I think, for the most part. But only if we can afford them, like I said before.
Well, I
Yeah,
love that. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
I was just going to add to that, Yesenia's point about the James, you mentioned this some months ago, but we were talking about family and how to be generous with them when you feel in that parasitic sort of relationship. But that, like you say, when you go through all this jealousy and things like that within yourself, and you're easier on yourself, then you're also easier on the people outside of you, and you understand why they do what they do. To see that, yeah, once we get ourselves to a certain place, being generous with people that we used to think were, or correctly spotting that, okay, they want something from us that they don't have or whatever, but that we tend to start having it in abundance. And I think James's term was, we'll get to a point where it's nothing for us to toss them these tokens that we used to feel like, oh, they're and I'm starting to understand. I think that's, all goes hand in hand, and that does come with it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brad. Oh, go ahead. Is that you, James? Well, I know, Gabby, did you have your hand back up? And we have about 4 minutes left, everybody. Sure.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. No, I'm really excited because I've been searching for a community that is on this type of wavelength. And I'm just going to say, jealousy is where my spaceship hurt me, what you guys were talking about. Because it's interesting. One of my first experiences as a young girl being kicked outside of the matrix is to say, when I said I did not experience jealousy, that was never an emotion that I could identify with. And that was the first time. I was about 11 years old when we all had crushes on boys and whatnot. And we were having a conversation. It was a group of girls. I loved them dearly. And I said, I did not feel that way. And everybody looked at me as if I had just taken the moon from the sky or whatever. And It was the first experience, and it was one of those very painful experiences where since that day, I have never confessed that again. I've never confessed to anyone in any situation that jealousy is not an emotion that I experience. Other emotions, yes, but it's not an emotion that I can relate to or identify. So it's very interesting that having found something that it is just the synchronicity of it all. And also, just to quickly, 2 minutes, 1 second, I don't trust you. I never trust. I don't trust. I don't mean that me. I'm just making that statement. I don't trust you. It always equals you're not trustworthy. And it is when we make that connection why we if we can finish the equation, then we can predict the reaction from what people will think when we make statements. So I don't want ice cream equals ice cream is for fat people. So if I can finish that equation, and I think it was that experience from the jealousy when I was 11, when I recognized that by me saying I don't experience jealousy, I wasn't able to verbalize it then, but on a subconscious level, I realized that if I could finish that equation of whatever I was going to say, I could predict what the reaction was. So I don't experience jealousy was saying to my friends, preteens, I'm better than you. I don't feel what you feel, which is not what I was saying. I was just expressing from my point of view, my experience. So I went through life navigating, knowing not to say I don't feel jealousy because it means something. So everything I said from that point at 11 years old to recently was, I want a job equals I want to have value to society. So if I want to signal to society that I have value, I need to be able to say I want a job. I never wanted a job, but I want to signal to society that I have. Anyways, yeah. But it's just interesting that jealousy has been assaulting my ears from the moment I came on here. I absolutely love it because this is a synchronistic moment. Thank you so much, guys.
Really glad you came. Thanks, Gabby. Thanks for speaking up.
Thank you, Gabby. It was good meeting you and hearing you. And what a great conversation. So much to listen back to, everybody. So good seeing everybody too. And thanks for this like last second dojo, James. I always like the spontaneity.
Yeah, I think we'll do this again on Friday, and then we'll do our Saturday show again. And yeah, and if anyone wants to change in the schedule or something, put it in the chat. Let's see what other people want. But otherwise, I'm at minute 10 on my documentary, the Coatli Q. So it's 15 minutes long, so it's slowly getting there. And yeah, I can put that out. Maybe I'll even. Actually, I'm not gonna say that because then I'll just make myself feel bad. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see how well it goes.
Well, I look forward to it.
Yeah. Thanks for hosting today, Nancy. I appreciate the mod.
Sure.
Yeah, good job, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let's
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
so we all just, everybody unmute? Yep.
Yep.
I don't know if you're going to do a snapshot, James, but we can all.
We'll just, everybody, just if you want to say goodbye and say something, then yeah, now's the time to do it. So blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah,
Bye.
blah,
See you,
blah,
everybody.
blah, blah, blah.
All the best.
See you in the shower.
Love you.